The only thing that saves us
I got
occasionally
Do this.
We're live.
All right, hello, everyone. We do not have any owners with us in person or online. So we are going to move past the owners' comments and call to this meeting to order. We do have enough attendance for a quorum. So from there, we will look to adopt the agenda. This meeting originally was requested to be joint with the board, CROA board. That date did not work out. So this action items 1 and 2 are going to move to November 19th, where it will be a workshop and CROA has said they can attend. So we only have number 3 to really go through as far as reviewing the scope of work. But if anyone has any questions about 1 and 2 now, so that you feel more prepared for the 19th, we can talk that today. And it's just discussion, no voting, no anything like that. Do I have a motion to adopt that agenda? Thank you, Marco. Second, Catherine, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Real quick, just 1 and 2 as a discussion. The purpose of this came about because we have been asked for tens of thousands of dollars in waivers, and we're constantly saying no. And so there's question amongst the residents, what is that Park and Recreation Committee up to? Constantly saying no. And so we wanted CROA to be aware of the amount that we've been asked since it was approved that we had this rating system of what gets approved and what gets discounted, et cetera. We wanted them to be aware of what was there. And we also wanted them to be aware that we know what we asked for in park monitors. So if I'm asking you for $100,000 in park monitors, but I've agreed not to waive $80,000 in fees, then that's my way to look the board in the eye and say, hey, we haven't gotten to 100 yet, but we've given you 80 of it that normally would have been waived. So that also gives CROA the ability to ask any questions. If they want to look at revisiting anything on who gets a discount and why and how much and all of that, that's what that will be on the 19th.
Great.
Any questions on that?
Make sure we know list of if anything grandfathered in.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So like Montessori school, when we went through all that, we pretty much said no one's grandfathered in. We just want to make sure the board is behind us when we say that, because in the end, it's their decision anyhow.
Mhm.
So if we can make sure we're on the same page and eliminate additional talking points for them and agendas on their item, then that's what we'll do. Items on their agenda. Yeah.
Not talking about the Montessori, but just an example. We have a lot of non-profit organization
Mhm.
who ask for waiver of the fees, but they are charging the other participants to use
Right,
Mhm.
so they're benefiting, yeah.
their
Double
stuff. And
benefiting.
yes.
Yeah. And for
Well,
those-
it's a nonprofit rate.
Yeah, we've given a discount if they're nonprofit
Correct.
to be a good partner, neighbor.
Mhm.
But then at the end, it was very abundant in that survey that I'm aware of that homeowners didn't want their association dues raised. So the only way not to do that while we're still asking them to add to the budget is to not waive stuff. So,
Well, if they ever brought up that, well, I'm grandfathered in, there's nothing in writing. That's
there's nothing, yeah. And times have changed. I mean,
Sure.
on many different levels for many different reasons in many different spectrums of this town. So,
But they could potentially find ways to fundraise, like your group fundraises.
Yeah.
I know, Marco, you have a lot of sporting events at the complex. You have over 300 kids every time. Maybe they could come here and say, hey, I would like to do this event. You tell us how much it is, and we go to one of your all programs and fundraise there.
yeah,
Do a concession, you know?
yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, it's exactly like the TC.
Right.
People are happy to support, but at that point, it's like in the finance committee meeting. Remember that workshop? I said we're a homeowners association, we're not a charity.
Right.
It's
Right.
not up to us to make the decision. We'll get waived to doesn't.
RTC made more than their money.
Yeah, they made money at that meeting.
from.
Yeah.
We get a lot.
Yeah. Start coming to these meetings.
And I mean, put nothing in money.
Yeah.
ROTU's just got a thing in my heart, which is why I choose, but.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot of us.
they can-
So they-
so yeah, so. So that's really for 1 and 2 to let you know what you're walking into on the 19th.
Yeah.
It's just a discussion. There's no voting, there's no anything. It gives the board an
Hey, let's
opportunity.
go. Yeah, come on.
It gives the
So
board
fun.
an
Take a
opportunity.
seat.
Happy election.
Yay.
Yes.
So yeah. All right, so with that, we're gonna move on to number 3. Unless anyone has any questions, I'll make sure everybody's good. Okay. Number 3 is reviewing the recreation scope of work. We started this last meeting. And so we're gonna try and continue it today. The scope of work, ideally what we're trying to do is rather than have each, and I'm gonna call them group, whether they are a partner program, a civic group, or a club, have their own contract. Everybody kind of has the same scope of work. And then in this case, attachment B and attachment C is specific to their specific organization. So B will talk about money of what they need to pay for rent, if there is rent involved. And C will talk about what they need to do. For instance, if they're swimming, they'll be responsible for the lap lane dividers, and how often we will walk that with them and review it so they can't say, oh, this has been broke for over a year. No, we just walked it 2 months ago. It wasn't broke 2 months ago. So that's the purpose of that. So we'll go through all of that this evening. So the first part is going to be what applies to all 3, A, B, and C. And then the second part of it will be what's specific to them. So this is up on the board. Thank you, Dolly.
Mhm.
The facility will be available to the contractor on a mutually agreed upon schedule for the use of lap lanes, tennis courts, indoor spaces, and green fields at designated locations. Access to specific amenities may require prior written approval with usage schedules defined in Exhibit C. The contractor will be subject to a monthly facility fee due by the 15th of each month. All rules and regulations of the facility must be followed, and CROA may conduct random, unannounced audits. Non-compliance could result in termination of the usage agreement. So this is where we talked about Exhibit C will be specific to them. We're going to include the locations. We're going to include the times that they get the locations, and we're going to include payments and deposits, which when we get to Exhibit C, we're going to dig into that a little bit more.
Can I suggest to put in result in the immediate termination?
No, because it would have to go through,
Has to be approved by Crowe.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a recommendation to the rec committee and then go to
yeah.
Crow.
We say, hey, board, based on this, this, and this, and them not honoring this, that, and this, we recommend.
And then
And
it
it's
has
not
to be a
terminated
30-day termination. I
Yeah.
believe it's 30 or 60-day termination.
So then should your program use equipment owned by CROA, a deposit will be requested and outlined in Exhibit C. Quarterly walkthrough with management and contract signature will be required, during which both management and the contractor will review and sign a checklist. So on the walkthrough, someone signs it. So they say, no, I told you then, no, you signed here differently. So that basically the purpose of it is that it's not a he said, she said.
Mhm.
So this process will occur with each walkthrough. If the contractor is approved to use CROA-owned equipment, the specific items and deposit amount will be outlined in Exhibit C. The contractor is responsible for auditing CROA equipment daily before use to ensure all items are free of damage. Any broken or damaged equipment must be reported to CROA immediately. Another thing we're going to get to when we talk to fees in the exhibit is storage equipment. We have groups that we're storing equipment for, and no matter if it's just a box or if it's a grand piano, we're not charging anything. So we'll talk about that in Exhibit C. The contract is responsible for all aspects of the program, including but not limited to year-round competitive activities, club level participation, private lessons, family events, and competitions or performances. Contractor will be responsible for organizing the participant registration, managing team rosters or group lists, and establishing practice or rehearsal schedules, coordinating events, and providing necessary materials such as uniforms, equipment, trophies, participant medals, and other supplies required for successful administration of the program. If you require staff time, the rate is $50 an hour, and the price on the event may vary based on how much staff you need. So in other words, we assume no responsibility for your program. That's on you, financially or execution.
Can I pause there for a second?
Yeah.
So Lindsay, I'm gonna use your program,
Go for it.
if that's okay. So for Lindsay, previously it was 20% a month for her roster. And then when she did her annual showcase or winter showcase, she gave us 20% of that profit from the event. So now what we're saying is there's a monthly flat rate, but for events or tournaments, it's only staff time we're charging these programs. Is that correct?
As long as that's within their times allotted in Exhibit C.
Okay.
So
So if it's outside this scope of work and they don't give us a schedule, we can charge the normal rate, or is that something we can review?
Yeah, we can review based on
Okay.
what their needs are, but basically Exhibit C will say what they get. If
Okay.
they have to go outside of Exhibit C, that's a discussion.
Okay,
So if they normally have the soccer field Tuesday night from
Yep.
7 to 9 and they hold a 2-hour tournament on Tuesday night, 7 to 9, great, that's theirs. But if they need it to go from 8 PM to 9, then that's different and it would be addressed accordingly.
okay. I think we're gonna have to review with some of these programs. It may change. I'm not picking on programs. It's because I know your schedules. Like Marco, spotlight's on you, my friend. I know sometimes Marco has tournaments for rec programs, but on the weekends, we have tournaments on Saturday morning. It could go all the way till 10 PM Saturday and Sunday night. But sometimes the schedule changes. I guess that's something I want to review in
Yeah, I think
detail.
that would be a case by case basis on what the programs.
It could be in Schedule C, like this is the allotted time frame that you are allowed to utilize
Okay.
on whatever. I mean, if we know that's already happening, we can kind of solve for it. Or
Yeah.
we're gonna solve for the unknown.
Okay.
But I believe this is more for new things coming, right?
Well,
Right, and that's what I'm trying to cover this, because this will be for everybody. So this is for partner programs and then
And clubs.
clubs
and-
and civic groups. So I just want to make sure I cover that question for every single person. Because if we don't, and someone may take advantage of that.
So
if
feel
we
like
write
one
that.
size fits most.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
And the truth is we're more sensitive to it because our space got drastically cut with town hall out. So that's why we're having to be really pinpoint who gets what space at what time.
Mm-hmm.
The contractor will have access to store items in approved unit or facility. Crow is not responsible for any lost or damaged items. The storage unit may not be updated or altered without written consent. Only authorized personnel with background checks from the organization will have access to the unit code. Sharing the code with unauthorized personnel will result in cancellation of the storage unit and a rate will be reflected for that. So I'll use Little League for that. We have that shed that's in the back there. And everybody wanted the code to that shed because that's where equipment was. But then people took equipment home with them. We lost stuff. And then people were like, well, let's just ask Crow for new stuff. It's not on Crow, that's on us. We gave it out. So in this case, this is to limit who gives it out. And this is to limit what the responsibility is in the town.
Do you need to put anything in about maintenance of a separate thing like a shed? Does it have to, they have to maintain the exterior of it, so that's not running down, boards coming off.
So it's a little bit different. So Little League is on K-8's property. I know when we tried to have Darren put a storage unit, it kind of backlash. So that's why he stores his equipment in the lakeside pool area. We have like 2 storage rooms. So I think that we should be responsible as far as Crowa.
If it was like a separate, and I'll use the word entity.
Yeah.
Facility.
Right. Box, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, just so you all are aware, Crowa, we pay in Parks and Rec for their storage unit, just in case they leave, someone else can utilize. Yeah, it stays with us.
So then, yeah, again, it's.
And it's on us.
It's on us, yeah.
The contractor will provide certification for athletic or artistic programs, including lifeguard and or CPR certification to CROA. The contractor will ensure a certified staff member is present during relevant activities such as lessons, practices, clinics, and events. Additionally, CROA may require the contractor to provide an extra certified individual during major events or meets. So this is interesting, and I do want to open this up for discussion because the key thing is this is going to go to everybody, including clubs. We're saying we want someone CPR certified at everything. That would be Mahjong, that would be foundation, that would be dance class, whatever. The cost for this is minimal to do it. The thought of where this came from is where is the legal liability on having an event in our space? If someone were to
God forbid.
have difficulty and CPR was needed and we had no one there and they had no one there, what is the liability on us that we were not?
But they all have their separate insurances, right?
Mhm,
So there wouldn't be any liability.
Well, the problem
The
is,
clubs don't.
yeah,
The clubs.
they sign a waiver. We
Yeah.
have them sign a waiver, but it's only like you, if you're the point of
Mhm.
contact, unless we make every participant sign a waiver.
And I think that would be harder. to-
Obviously,
Yeah.
there's, I think, I assume that people that train CPR and certified, sometimes don't know what they're doing, and you could have another liability if they do it wrong.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, what did you say? Or just the head of the club, the CPR turn, oh, I can't make it today.
Correct.
Now does
That makes sense.
club not happen?
So a waiver, just saying that's their responsibility. And it's adults, you know, and it's a separate league, not the club's talking.
Yeah.
Unless we have them sign like an agreement with CROA that's like they walk with the staff member showing them where the closest AED is. Here, like call 911, like we do like a mini course per se with each, a safety plan. In a case of emergency, here's the exits, like I think that's probably the safest way. To at least so they sign off saying that, hey, we notice that there's an AED here, we know to call 911, here's the closest exits.
And just make it check on, and then they sign it.
Yeah.
And the head of that club signs it, and that's, and then it's top of our.
For anybody who participates in that.
At least for the clubs.
I think so.
And then-
Thing that can be worked
Put
too
that
for
in.
like lockdowns, like could we have a generalized safety plan that covers all of those points? So like indoor facilities, like
In this day and age,
there's a shooter, this is what you do, like this is where you go.
Right.
yeah.
Because I think if you leave that up to each individual program, some people take it seriously and others won't.
Okay.
But if you have, I feel like it's easy enough to have us or someone
Absolutely.
put something together, call law enforcement, we can put bullet points together and it's there, it's easier.
And if they can train elementary school children to say, God forbid this happens, this is what the plan is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna generalize the safety plan for all programs and clubs and then plus the sign off.
Including CPR.
Yeah.
And include CPR for
Yeah.
programs.
Well, they're not
Just say safety plan.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a recommendation, not a.
First of the year.
I think somebody who's gonna have a level head and say,
Correct.
okay, fine, everybody into the closet, you know.
So the safety plan will have a recommendation of CPR. It's not
Yes.
mandatory,
Mhm.
which is a good thing to do, especially in the sports and where
Yeah,
people are
especially-
using.
We've all seen on TV, the kid who had a heart attack in the middle of a football game.
Right.
So he was 17 years old.
Our facility legalized right now.
Who's looks like this? Nothing like Florida.
So we're so wide open, of course.
Can I also suggestion,
Mhm.
also including type for coma, safe sport certification as well. It's be good for the youth programs. Safe sports.
Safe sports
Yeah.
education?
Yes, safe sport certification.
Oh, safe sports, okay.
Yeah, it's easy to go, is all US licenses have it. And there is a one of the classes including both inclusion.
Mm,
Well, I know for like youth football, we have to do it every year. It's called football, USA Football. You go on there online, it's like $35. You know, it just gives you the.
Little League has their own
Exactly,
program.
the same thing.
Yeah.
So they have, all coaches should have that.
I would say that or
Yeah.
something similar based on your program. Because if Little League already has what they do and it's similar, then that works. We just need something that covers that.
Correct.
Okay.
And then as far as the certified coaches, you can't just have one certified coach because that doesn't give you any value, because if he's not there, That's what that means, certified coach when you bring during practice games and events. So if you got 4 teams on one practice,
I mean, I'll should be certified, right?
yeah, well, that's,
See,
oh, that's right, yeah, you need to have that because, yeah.
Volunteers or assistants, intern volunteers, it's fine, don't have.
yeah, but as long as that guy is there, then he's there for that team.
Yes, I agree, 100%. Yeah, safe sports certification that includes inclusive and disability players.
But then we got to pick which site we're going to use for that, like, it's gotta be all universal, that way it's, because what you could do is you could have access. If we wanted to do that, we could have, it's, you know, if you wanted to make sure that Little League has other coaches certified, you can go up there and look at who, and the ones that don't. You could say, you know, Marcus is not certified, he can't be on the field. If you want to go into that much more.
Come into a bit of a problem, is like, there's no group like that for dance. So if
Right.
there is the overall like generalized course, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, they have that.
Yeah.
I can forward. it.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. So we do like concussion.
I mean, like. even-
Yeah, if you kind of look for a generic course for everybody, but
For 3 years.
it may be different from sports
yeah,
versus.
but that's it, there is a
The
specialized,
CPR
like,
recommended.
Because right now.
I'm sorry,
it would be like CPR was recommended,
Great,
yeah.
But. That'd be
Because we
awesome.
can't make them.
How do we check the background checks? Do we have like, do they submit?
They
it to-
submit it.
So they submit it and then there'll be like random inspections where a park monitor will go around and they'll say, what's your name? And they'll just make sure they're on the list.
Oh, okay.
Which leads us to our next one. CRA requires that all athletic and artistic programs using its facilities submit background checks, certifications, and qualifications for coaches. Example is USA Swimming, submitting it 15 days before the season starts. A certified coach must be present during practices, games, and events, handling all communication and liability concerns while the program is on property. Additionally, all individuals managing, coaching, volunteering, or officiating must undergo mandatory level 2 criminal background checks before the program begins. Minors participating in the program who are not direct participants may also be subject to random drug test. CROA will conduct random and unannounced audits of these background checks with noncompliance potentially leading to termination of the usage of the agreement. CROA reserves the right to request updated background checks up to 3 times per year with 72 hours notice at the program's expense, while any additional checks beyond these points will be at CROA's expense. The contractor must also provide a positive atmosphere for participants. So this is one of those clauses that are there because of things that have happened in the past. So the background checks, heaven forbid, something happens, and then we all know something else happened, CROA can request a second one for that. The other thing is, many of our programs have older youth that are helping, whether they be referees or umpires or coaches or things like that. And there was complaints from parents about eyes being significantly bloodshot or slurring of language or things such as that. So in cases like that, we could request a drug or alcohol test on a minor. We would not do a background check. We haven't had to do that. Hopefully it's a deterrent, like if someone says, oh yeah, and then they just quit coming type thing. But that's what that is, just to let them know it's there. Because there are teenagers who do bad things. And there's all kids that do bad, people that do bad things, no matter the age. But everybody's that.
did something that
Right.
was shamed.
So we just need to make sure we're protecting all minors, no matter what the age of the person working with them.
But do we put a, I hate to say this because it affects, like, my son would do, but do we put a age on who can be like a referee or whatever in a certain program? Because I'll tell you why, then you take all of that out of there. Now, of course, it's a fun thing, like for instance, like my sons, they play flag football. And last year, my oldest was refereeing. Now, I'm always there watching to make sure they had a good time, everything was fine, but, there's parents that, you made a bad call from my kid, you're 12, you're 15-year-old kid, what do you know, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Do we make that a minimum, like 18, and then you take out every kind of liability that you would have? Because let's say someone's refereeing, he gets run into, for whatever reason he gets hurt, like we said, we're very litigious here. Do we do that?
I would, instead of an age, I would recommend a number of years older. So if someone is 15 and they're working with 5-year-old flag football,
That's cool.
Okay, can we do a waiver from the parent for that person training those little kids?
yeah.
Do we?
I mean, I
Right.
think you could have
Okay, we're not-
programs
You know, nothing.
create a waiver. They have a code of conduct. I
Yeah.
think that should be in the hands of the program
Mhm,
and
but-
not as far as management. Because Lindsay, I know that you have dancers that are like
Yeah.
assistants, yeah, yeah.
Daughter with that, and she danced,
Mhm,
and it's, we consider it training force, and so we're teaching them how to teach. And I usually take them to Starbucks at the beginning of the year and explain expectations, and as the year goes on, this is how you're gonna grow into this role. The goal for them is the last class of the year, they're teaching the class. And I sit and watch and take notes to get feedback. So for us, it's usually our older, more advanced, more like responsible, it's kind of handpicked. It's not everyone can do it. It's, so I don't know how different it is for refereeing, like.
But
That's kind of.
if you were under the age of 18 though, can't they just like shadow with another ref? Like, let's say your son wants to be a ref, he would have to be with an adult until he was 18. Maybe we could do something like that.
It's
Right.
the volunteer hours.
Yep.
Get paid, you know. The
Right.
point is that we can just put that in there and then it's out of our hands. We put that in there, they sign the paper and it's nothing, on them.
All anyone who's an assistant teacher sign a waiver with their parents.
Yeah.
As well, and I would keep it full of it, like that's an easy fix.
We're talking about liability for us, right? For the,
Yeah.
for the association. Like just take that for liability. No matter what, you know, nothing's gonna be foolproof. Anybody can sue anybody,
So
right?
we can say contractor required to have
But it is
minors' parents sign a waiver.
Huge,
It is, you never know, you never know.
but
And,
most times like
Do
that.
you have to say referee?
And
Well, a lot of times too, what people want to, I see it
do you
too.
call it administrative
Yeah.
position? Because that could be a
Yeah,
ref.
there would be a
Those,
6-year-old one.
I
Water
think,
Or his father says-
yeah, I think in a volunteer position, in a volunteer or paid.
Yes.
There's a confrontation. Now that kid gets hurt, right, or whatever. Now, the guy, you know, whatever, he's an adult, but that kid doesn't, then it could be a whole ball of wax.
Yeah, but there's also adults who have no compulsion whatsoever to
Oh,
harm a child.
oh, that's the whole thing too, so then it becomes.
Yes. I will say, the
Yeah.
kids
It
need to
would be, this is what we do with conflict, is where like that,
Yeah.
each program can kind of create
Yeah.
those steps.
Small thing, when they
Yeah.
said that, one. The paragraph, right?
Yep.
That one,
I got you.
where it says a certified coach, can we put one or more certified coaches?
Must be present during practice.
Yeah.
Period. Okay.
Any person. I don't know, appropriately, have multiple teams, like we had, like for soccer, they have all their coaches that are,
Oh, yeah.
you know, they're, you know, like they're all like, they have little kids, big kids,
I want to make sure less is more,
right?
just because if we get too critical, they'll
Okay,
say,
yeah, no, I agree. Food for thought. I agree with you. That's too much.
the legalese part of it.
Wait.
Okay.
We're all set? Okay. Right, that's for all managers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All managers, head coaches, assistant coaches, all managers, head coaches, assistant coaches, and volunteers who have direct contact with minors are required to view an online instructional video. This is to what Margaret was talking about. Or attend coach training session approved by the program's manager or coach. Crow will provide instructional videos to ensure consistency. Signed certification of completion for the video and or training session must be submitted at least 15 days before the start of each season. So this is exactly what he was talking about.
So, okay, so we're gonna make a generic video for every program and club. So we have to just make it as generic as possible. Okay.
That or if you find one that everybody likes, that is. Not cost to the town.
Yeah.
YouTube too.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure we're all.
Have their own insurance, that, all sports insurance is gonna include
Yeah.
that, so it's a layer, I mean, I don't think I mean, it'd be hard to get them to make a, for us to make a video.
But if you could just.
We
let
can.
it play, if you just wanna go.
We need you to look at this video.
Yeah, recommend, right?
CROA requires all programs on its property to have a safety plan to ensure a safe environment for participants, volunteers, and spectators. Recreational equipment must meet the standards of its governing body and be inspected regularly by the organization's safety officer or program manager / head coach. The safety plan should include an emergency action plan for weather conditions and concussions. The contractor must submit the safety plan 15 days before each season starts or annual anniversary of this contract signing.
And Lindsay,
So
you were
the
the-
only
this one.
question I have on this, and rereading it again, and I wrote this, so sorry, is for the weather, I can say 2 miles for light weather.
Well, yeah, I have it on here.
Okay.
The generalized safety plan. So we're gonna make a generalized safety plan for all programs and clubs will sign off on the
Okay,
safety plan.
okay.
So that's what,
School board, there,
Yeah.
for lighting, is that what?
10 miles for Osceola.
Just put that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just read that way.
But I do think it might be a good idea if we should even partner with law enforcement to do a walkthrough of the lockdown scenario or something. Like there are people like I can make a guess as to I think we should do this. But it might be completely opposite of what they're trying people to do now.
Yeah.
There are no metal detectors at any of
You know,
those.
it's not like heavy hand, but so maybe at the bottom, when we say, okay, they submitted 15 days prior and expires at the end of each season. That way you know it's done,
Yeah,
and then after we know it the next year, or the next season, because you know, like baseball has 2 seasons, right, following. But I guess the end of each year, I think, with the annual.
well, yeah, because like the annual is tennis never dies, so it's all year minus Christmas. So, yeah,
Well, even to Lindsay's point of law enforcement, they might even have something in place
yeah,
that they can.
yeah, we don't want to
say, "Yes."
recreate the wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
just feel like there's something out there that can be generalized, and then that also would help people that might not.
Well, very simple, I would refer to the Osceola Police
Yeah.
Department's, evacuation plan.
Right.
Put that in there, that's it, we're not gonna do it again.
And then this is just in regards to what we require for registration and participant roster. And again, this is different because it will apply to all 3 now, where before it was just partner programs. So Celebration residents are given priority for early registration over non-residents. A discount rate will be provided to Celebration residents. Participant roster submission at the beginning of each season or annually from the date of contract signing. A participant roster must be submitted. Again, that's when the contract comes. This roster should include at least 50% Celebration residents, including Celebration K-8 school, children, and faculty members. I'm going to stop with that one right quick. This one's a hot button. And I've been on the Recreation Committee 3 years, and it's been different every year. It was 70%. Then it was 60%, now it's 50%. It was suggested if it gets pushed back on this one, we would bump up to 55%, because then we could say the majority is Celebration. Yeah.
55% is.
But we are we only wanting to say K-8?
Yeah.
We say celebration.
Every-
Yeah, we should say so, because the high school now is, the high school is now,
I would.
yeah, Celebration School.
Thousand schools. count, I suppose.
Because the purpose is if I go to school with Danny and I want to play on baseball team with him,
Danny?
yeah, then it's not fair. I think he's my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a great player. I'm sure he's fine.
Danny just
he used to play football.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, look at that.
Which on the flag football team. Okay.
Like,
Right, exactly. So if you fail to submit the roster, we'll just do a review. It's not like.
But you can't put Montessori because they pay, they're not public school.
I don't know, that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
like, do we only keep it to the public schools, or are you including?
I think celebration schools,
Celebration.
You're making it more difficult.
Because the purpose of it,
Celebration
is
school.
whether mommy or daddy pay or whoever pays, I want to play with my buddy
Okay.
and their kids. That's the worst thing we did in this town. We did really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. All organization fees must be submitted to CROA no less than 15 days before the start of the season or the annual anniversary of the contract signing. Organizations are required to set reasonable and fair rates to ensure the safe conduct of their programs. So these are for those programs that say, okay, we have 100 kids playing baseball. We charge them $10 per kid. You owe us that money 15 days before it starts. That's where that comes into play versus ones like partner programs where they play monthly. So that's where that is. Crowe reserves the right to request all records related to classes or lessons conducted on the property on any time. Contractors are required to provide these records upon request within 2 business days. However, this request excludes records containing minors' information such as names, date of birth, addresses, guardian information, or personal financial details in order to safeguard personal information and protect minors. So where this comes from is Grand Manors request all this, right? And I'm as a resident, I can go anytime and say, I want a copy of that record. However, to safeguard the kids, and we'll start with that, names, date of birth, addresses, guardian information. You don't get any kids' names. You don't get to know who's the name on the court because someone, or the field, because someone could come by and say, Bobby, 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 and see which kid raises their head,
Your
right?
mom sent us.
And
You've
it's
already-
funny saying that because someone actually did a records request and did this at one of our facilities.
Yeah.
So,
Good stuff.
yeah.
So that's where this comes from. And then personal information and finances, and that's just a given. So that's where that comes from.
I think when we present this to the board, that I'm gonna highlight that
Mhm.
because I don't want them just to say yes. I want them to truly understand. So if someone does a records request and we tell them no, it's because of that.
Yeah, and I can speak personally as a parent. I want my kids' info. You can come after me all you want, but touch fee and expense, and it's not gonna go well. So, yeah. Contractors should abide by the rules and regulations of the concession stands and weather policy in this agreement, hence the lightning thing. Contractors must provide owner with a copy of contractor's insurance policy certificates, which meets the following requirements. These are the same as they've always been.
Mhm.
And just on their insurance, they have to include CROA, the Non-Residential Owner Association Joint Committee, Celebration Community Development District. There's our address. Exhibit B, we'll get into this shortly, is facility rates and deposits. C, we'll talk about storage, rental, equipment, and scheduled time locations and storage unit sizes and rates. The civics clubs background check will not be required unless dealing with minors on that. Clubs and civic groups will need to review pricing for storing items. So they get 2 hours free a month, and then extra if they need it. They have their own specialized pricing, but if they need storage equipment as well, then we're charging for that. That is new, and that goes back to we're asking for more park monitors, so we have to find a way to help pay for them. I always talked about the clubs with the hourly rate, additional hours.
Should be hourly rates are free, not or free.
I was typing fast. I apologize.
Yep. Partner programs. Okay, this we're gonna.
Thank you for calling me out.
Partner program, right?
It's called working for an attorney for 35 years.
This is why it's a draft.
Like we opened up the number of residents, 70, 60, 50%, 55, whatever. It came that there was concern about, I don't want to show you my tax documents, not because I'm hiding anything, but because I don't just use CROA facilities. I use another school's facilities. I do another town on Tuesdays. And now you're asking to see my tax form and base it on that. And I don't have my tax form based out on what I spend where. IRS looks at me as a business.
Mhm.
And so if you're going to use that, then you're charging me a rate on not everything happens here in Celebration. So we're going to give people a choice then. If you're here in town and everything's in Celebration and it benefits you to do a percentage, then you can do that. If you prefer an hourly flat rate for your business and that's how you do it, that's fine too. I am also of the opinion, if I have a flat rate and it's $100 a month and I really work my backside off for my business and we made $700, I don't want to give CROA an extra $140. I'm the one that worked hard, not them. So the flat rate I really feel benefits a business that they reap the profit if they work extra hard. And it would be, we would have different ways of looking at it. What's funny?
He says true.
Right?
There's any fees almost impossible. Roy?
We started it was
Yeah.
flat rate. I think it got switched to percentage and now, there's merits to both.
Can we just say,
They get a choice.
can we just say, we want a P&L attached to your tax return. So if you're that big of an organization, you can have a P, you wanna know where you're not gonna play a referee for one organization into the other, or whatever. Let's say you're soccer, right? You can have your adult league, you can have your kid league. Those are two different costs. So why not do a P&L?
Yeah, but I don't know that I would,
They can fudge it. For sure.
yeah.
That's for sure. Or the flag, I don't even know if that benefit, I mean, I think that'd be easier.
But that's the type of thing where like, okay, use me, because I teach at private schools, I teach different facilities, so I'm a perfect example for this.
Right.
I'm not even using facilities because there aren't any to use.
Yeah.
Right.
But I could come in and sit down with Nikki and in my database, I can run reports that show every fee that's been brought in tuition wise for the pro facilities. I have the fees for each classes attached. So if I can run that kind of a report and I can show her.
Yeah.
And I can say, this is, and I mean, I used to do that.
Mhm.
I would send her every month, this is what we brought in for classes held at this facility. This is the report, here's 20%. Give you a check or I'll pay by card.
Yeah.
So it's,
But then that's your choice.
yes.
If you wanna
But
do
it's
that.
also, I mean, people could fudge that. I could be like, all of a sudden, my creation village classes got really full, but I mean, that's where, there's gotta be some stuff there.
Well, that's what we were trying to get out of doing that.
Yeah.
Cause, when people do records requests, just personal experience from us, they go, when I saw the roster, you should have collected this amount of money and not this. But they don't know when you do sponsorships or someone couldn't
Yeah.
pay that month, like they don't know the backstory. So I thought personally flat rates would be a little bit easier because it's just like, it is like basically you're paying rent.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not looking at your financial statements. I personally am not an accountant, so I wouldn't be looking at it every month, you know? So that's why, yeah. But but if we did like the tax statements, cause I did speak to a program and I was talking to Victoria about this the other day, is she was saying, she showed me her 2023 tax statements. I said, okay, if I divide that, or I do 20%, divide that by 12, this is what you're doing for 2024, for example. And she said, well, technically, if you overcharge me, CROA owes me money back. That's what
Yeah,
she was saying.
But I'm saying
So-
no, because it would be based on the previous year. Then the same thing happens in 24, let's say, and she has lower numbers, but 25, she has more people. We're not gonna go in and charge her more either. So it's just really based on the past year. And you could come out ahead or behind accordingly.
But if you do
that.
20%, if you just make them do the 20%, the honor system, and next year they show you their taxes and it doesn't line up with the 20%,
Yeah.
you can't lie on that, then they're not part of the program.
Well,
Can you do
yeah,
something like that?
3 years.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's 3 years.
but things change so quick here, I'm afraid to do that long.
That way you can get the average. That's some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again.
But if we give the option to do a flat rate, I think that's just something we need to review. Because Marco's flat rate, tennis, Darren's flat rate, and Kelly's swimming flat rate was based off a 9% increase on the rec fees for I think it was like the condos or apartments. So we can base it off one of those things if you'd like. But it's also, sometimes it gets not fair because if not everybody's using that facility, you're now overcharging this program. When like tennis and swimming, they're balancing that 9% out,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the more programs you have, I'm sorry?
This would, could then count with that, we can say, how would that work? What do you think, how that should work? You know.
I mean, it's something I can review with upper management, but
There's no way of really verify. I mean, the whole economy crashed because of that. You could make your tax return go, okay, what I made this year. How are you gonna?
right, I think the overall goal is we're just trying to show as residents that these partner programs are chipping in and helping
Right.
pay the assessments.
Right.
So, or helping cover or offset. That's, yeah.
It's hard to, if you wanna especially give new programs a like a helping hand to get started and get going, but you also don't wanna undervalue.
Correct.
What the assets are and the wear and tear that happens on those too, so it's.
But I also want,
Every year, go, okay, look.
Maybe the first year could be like when apartments give a rent concession. You know, the first year, so you can get yourself on your feet,
yeah,
and then next year, this is what it's gonna be.
but I also don't wanna overcharge because I want these programs to survive here too.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it's us though, looking for the money as much as per program based on resident.
So you think flat rate's better, you think flat rate's better?
I mean, flat rate is very helpful to plan from a business
I was gonna
aspect.
say, it's not easier to
It's very hard because it's a big amount, but as far as you keep going and doing your program, and real good partnership,
Mhm.
you can reach the.
Well, that's why I thought maybe
Break
the
even,
first year,
take
give them a
off.
little concession.
But I also say, if you're having a slow month and you reach out, I'm sure they'll give you an extension and pay a little bit.
That's what I'm saying too.
There's
Curious.
partnership there, and you're hopefully building those relationships, and we as a committee would, I'm sure, vote for something like that too.
So this is like more partner programs, because we have different categories, like the next one's club slash, and the next one's civic groups. Kathleen, I know you're here just listening, chiming in. I know, no, there's not.
We haven't started discussing you.
No, but I guess since we were talking about clubs and civic groups, like this is all kind of bundled up one and they're all doing their different exhibits. Would you be more helpful if you had monthly, like a flat rate? Or would you do like the hourly rates for like each facility? So let's say like driving in place, like what we talked about. It would be like the 2 complimentary hours a month, any additional usage, you would pay the hourly rate of Heritage with the 20% off for nonprofit. Is that something that you would be interested in doing, paying hourly rates, or are you looking more of a, would it be beneficial for flat rates?
Flat rate.
You'd be
It's
beneficial,
easier to
okay,
plan a budget.
yeah, okay. So I'm just curious if we could give the 2 option or flat rates. Yeah,
So I mean, it's not like. Um, it's an exhibit.
Yeah. right,
That way, not good in the beginning, but mid to the end is very helpful, because you know how much you're gonna spend. and
you could budget
Go
for
back
it.
and know how much.
Yeah, they know,
It
not on too, yeah.
is influence inside the program, everything.
Okay.
It's flat.
So if we're saying this, you get a choice, but we expect most people to pick flat rate.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I
That's
think.
okay. We'll show flexibility. It's okay.
You can do both, you can
Yeah.
do flat rate and a percentage.
I think the whole point is like to show the documents, to try to get to your flat rate. Like, it should be kind of around the 20%.
Like if you're not comfortable showing your documentation, then you're gonna have to do a flat rate. That's how I see this.
And it's good. More about like you have like $1,000 flat fee, but if you increase like twice or your program or whatever, you give us some percentage.
Yeah, but that'll be for next year. If your business increases, I think you as a business owner should reap the profit, not the
Well,
town.
it's like, if, say I was renting a strip mall and my business grew and I needed to take over the place next to me. So I'm getting more tuition until we burst up seams. When I add on more hours or another room, the rate changes. You know, you're paying more
And
then,
can
so
the
that's
rate be
another thing.
reevaluated if it's just say 3 years? Just
That's every
reevaluated?
year.
Oh, every year, okay.
Mhm. It's every year.
So I mean, there are stopgaps in place to have more coming in
Yeah,
and adjust.
that looks right.
All right, feel good about that. What do we have next?
Okay, so, well, it's not on here, but, exhibit B, I guess we can start. Just talking about that facility rates, which we kind of talked about flat rate. I think as far as management, we can kind of go back and look at the number of hours. I know Lindsay is probably, you were with me on this one, where we were trying to do a calculation on the number of hours determines your flat rate.
Mhm.
And for some reason, I could not get that for the best of me. But I'm gonna try to look up maybe the rec fees to see what the percentage is, and I could bring that back to you all on November 19th, if
Okay.
that works for you.
Mhm.
But as far as deposits, our facility reservations, their deposits are between 150 all the way up to $500. So, is that the deposit time, a frame that you're looking at, to be charging for storage? Or do you think it should be more?
I think storage should be based on what you're storing, like the amount of space.
Yeah, they want square.
Square
That's
footage.
what.
So we discussed that. The thing is, some people store cabinets. Like, perfect example. Lifelong, they're here. They're using these cabinets. They have locks on them. Tennis, they're using that storage room on the left side, Cyclones on the right side at Lakeside. Celebrators Garden Club, they have storage cabinets in Heritage Hall. Like every location, Arthur from Star Dibs uses the kitchen. Chorus uses the kitchen in the Jones room. Like we're like at capacity when we have private functions. We're picking everything up and just moving it outside or putting it somewhere else so nobody sees it. So sometimes it's hard to do the square footage because it's a cabinet space unless we say one cabinet is this, two cabinets is that. Like, do we really go that far in detail? Or,
You could say with a 20 square foot minimum.
It's different. One thing
It's
is
very little, that's like a 4x5.
for swimming pool, another thing for us to just be carpet for self-defense.
Mhm.
That would be,
Well, and.
Depends.
I know.
that's what I'm saying, like.
Yeah,
It's still taking up a certain amount of floor
Yeah.
space.
Floor spacing.
Even if you rent a unit in any storage space.
Or some of them are indoors, some of the equipment's bigger and bulkier itself, but the storage facilities near it are made for that, so it's. This is gonna suck.
Yeah, unless we literally go like a cup, small, medium, large.
I mean.
Small is cabinets, medium is like kitchen space, large is actually like a storage unit, like complex. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing I could think of. So even if you get one cabinet, it's that for small. You get this, it's medium. You know what I mean? And if they say, well, I wanted that space, someone has it reserved already.
Well, how
You know
would
what I
you
mean?
calculate this?
I would just say this is considered small.
Yeah,
All this?
to however many cabinets, it's considered.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
size?
small.
One cabinet small and one cabinet small, so this would be 3 small cabinets,
Or
right?
is it?
I would just classify this as small.
The cabinet.
If you have like the whole kitchen space, that's medium, that's a medium space.
Okay.
Like if you use the whole
What's large
Jones,
then?
Jones room kitchen,
Okay.
Heritage Hall's closet, complex closet, I think those are large spaces.
Okay, yeah, so let's categorize them.
So as far as we'll come up with the number of cabinets or, but for small, should we say 150 for a deposit? Medium's 300, large is 500.
You're saying a deposit and then plus monthly rental, is that what you're saying?
Monthly.
So you guys were talking about having deposits for storage, I thought. So I was thinking,
No, we had exhibit C says storage rental.
why do we have facility rate and
It's like-
deposits?
I think it's gonna be both deposit
Um,
and.
I think it's deposit and.
I'm sorry, so the
Well-
deposit's going to storage rental and
The
stuff?
deposit is. If someone breaks this, right, that's where the deposit is used.
Yeah,
So you have that, and then you have rental for it because. We can't, it's yours, it's renting space, we can't use it for something else, I can't use it for
correct.
parties, so I think it's both.
It's your deposit.
Yeah, it's a security, you get your deposit back,
I'll get it back.
you, when you're done with that.
Yeah, but what
How
is the
much will-
deposit? Yeah, that's what
Well, I
I'm
do
looking.
250, 300, 500 as the deposits, and then we need to figure out what the monthly rent would be.
Well-
What happens if someone that already using the storage like?
It's a new contract.
The new contract, yeah, the new contract.
So let's say somebody's Lifelone's renting this. This is much more costly to replace than a shed. So that has to be taken.
Oh, you're talking about.
Like-
Well, I do,
Yeah,
there's a
somebody-
difference between
That's-
events and partner programs. If someone were to damage something like that, you lose the deposit, but you're also gonna
Yeah.
get a bill for the repairs.
Okay.
But they're
Yeah.
contract. like,
Right, but
never find these people.
Yeah.
but something I also wanna include is Danny does private functions.
Yeah.
So a kid comes in here and messes the wood up, I'm not gonna accuse
Oh, that-
Lifeline, for- you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a hit or miss with that, you know what I mean?
I just wanna say something, I am not comfortable having people leave their stuff here, I've been negative about this, I don't like that because of that very reason. I'm not gonna blame you at a party here because there's a busted thing, I don't know if this happened because you had your.
Yeah.
Your little class here too, so it's hard, unless the little class. Well,
I do think that there's locks though.
The biggest
I
class
don't-
ever.
Yeah,
So,
so I'm comfortable with the locks. But like certain locations where there's no lock,
Yeah.
like Danny's referring to, it's very uncomfortable, like the kitchen at the Jones room.
Agreeable.
There's like over maybe $3,000 worth of athletic,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, I think it's.
equipment and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I know right now it's stuck because
right, yeah.
other facilities have like, where they're normally.
Right, yeah, town hall had a lot of storage for this and,
All right, let's look at 3 deposits. I mean, right now, we're pulling numbers out of our backside.
Yes,
So
that's fair.
let's get some thing to base that on, and as
Okay.
well as the rates to rent, the monthly rate to rent it.
okay.
Which doesn't it bring it back to the basic square footage? Small would be 20 square feet, medium is up to 100 square feet. Large is anywhere up to after that.
Yeah, that should.
Gonna review different storage unit places.
Yeah, we'll see.
Honestly, we can trust y'all's judgment, you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You tell us what you think is small, medium, large, right back on 19th, I feel like.
Yeah, I think the monthly rates,
Storage unit, it was $100 a month.
yeah,
And it was a pretty large space. It was a good,
So
The only thing I wanna make sure is that
5x5 and.
in their exhibit, it gives, we need a 30-day notice or something like that to get out of it. I don't
Yeah.
want them committed, I don't want lifelong committed to this for a year.
Mhm.
You know, as long as they tell us they can get it, I don't want hands tied for anybody, that's all.
I also suggest that keep the only partner programs or club or whatever can arrange this.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, because they're the only ones that would have contracts for it. I understand your fear.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, that says, not us.
Yeah, no.
okay, so I'll also look up the storage rental rates. And bring that back with like square footage or sizes and all that.
You can go online to the storage place and get a good idea.
It's big difference.
No, I'm just saying, just get an idea.
Get a ballpark.
But if, let's say Marco and I have a class, Marco has a class, I put stuff in this closet, he shares the same closet, are we paying the same amount because we're in that big closet?
I would say then each pay half, like this
Yeah.
is the price of the closet, if you're sharing and using half each, then you divide the cost.
And just have a-
Other additions to it.
The contract for both.
Yeah, so for like the kitchen, like Arthur uses it, Forrest uses it. And this will also prevent like any moving of the equipment. I'm also gonna put in here staff time.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Cause
Yeah.
like our team right now, I'm
We
not
don't have
bashing,
anything.
but. For example, this is just an example, like
Mhm.
Forrest, we set up the room, we tear down the room, we move the piano if there's any issues.
Mhm.
But it's to the point where it's like safety issues where staff members are getting their hands stuck, piano's falling on people, like that's a huge liability.
No,
So,
staff.
They thought we should go there, those, there, yeah.
Anytime staff is being used, staff should be charged,
I agree.
because we're paying for it.
We will intend use.
Or you can let someone from course know that they can show up by 4 PM, they can move it for free.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, so it's not a mandatory charge
of course,
to
yeah,
their program. It's up to them on how they choose to use their funds. If we're doing it, you pay us. If you're doing it, it's free.
okay. And then for exhibit C, where it says schedule time and location, for the next meeting, do you want me to have different exhibits for each program? So
Yeah,
that's like,
and- yeah.
ready to go for you all to prove? For
Yeah,
December?
you're gonna, based on what we have now.
Okay. And then as far as the flat rate, I'll work with Lauren and Jacob on like the rec income fees and see how many programs are at each location to make sure it's a reasonable and fair monthly flat rate.
Yeah.
So it's not overcharging anyone either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't looking to make money. This is to break even.
Yeah,
Right,
right. Well, as far as our previous conversation, we had the programs. Sorry. I know this is really tiny. I apologize. Bear with me. So the partner programs, they would have to give us $2,500 in order to be a partner program. Right here, number 2, right?
Right.
So-
Qualify.
So qualify, so that the percentage for that monthly flat rate is gonna be the minimum of the
Would be
2,500.
2,500 divided by 12.
Yes, that would be the minimum to be a partner program. But I'll make sure pending
Does
on the
that make
number.
sense for everybody, what she's saying? Okay.
So to initiate the VBOT program, you need to like pay $2,500 or pay it over 12 months.
You basically need to give us $208 a month.
So even if
It's good in the past, same amount. It's good.
Yeah, we're just saying, otherwise you would become a club and you wouldn't be a partner program. So if I own an exercise class and I'm only paying $15 a month, I'm not a partner program, I'm a club. But if I pay $208 a month, then I can apply to be a partner program and get the perks that come with it.
It's the same as we had the last year. right?
Exactly.
Which partner program should also, it's a priority also for storage too. I feel like that's fair, so. Correct, so for the monthly flat rate, the minimum is 208 for partner programs. But I wanna start having like, so if you're a club, we're gonna have to do. I gotta figure out a club rate, that's the concern, unless we just do the,
The club
Stick
rate
to
is
the
based
hourly.
on the hourly thing we've done.
okay, so
Yeah.
we're not doing any rates.
Because then it's consistent for everybody.
Okay, so but for clubs, if they reach out for the storage, you want it to be the same exact number for,
Mhm.
okay.
Storage is storage.
Okay.
Because here's my whole thing in my crystal ball that's broken. I have a feeling that we're gonna ask for more monitors next year. I mean,
Good, yeah.
if this is a success and we see it improving the quality of life, which is what we're hoping happens, then we got two, we'll ask for another one. So I have to be able to say to Crow at some point, yeah, but this is where I'm giving you some money.
Yeah, plus two don't get you.
And in the end, yeah, and in the end, this is a benefit. I mean, this is what the residents said they wanted. I keep coming back to the Post-it thing. That's what they wanted.
But if we also are consistent with this, it's
Mhm.
like people kind of realized we're not picking and choosing favorites, we're defining all waiver requests.
Right.
And if that's the direction they want us to continue, then hopefully it'll start removing them from the agendas, which helps other things.
That would be really nice.
Or people complaining.
Mhm.
It just frees up time to focus on other line items.
Okay. So anything else on number 3 on the agenda item?
The one thing, okay, so clubs, we're not gonna, obviously, it says require background checks, cause some things in this contract agreement is gonna be completely different for scope of work at least.
Mhm.
So clubs, we're gonna make them do participant rosters, and if they're not 55% or 50% residents, they get cut. And then they have to watch instructional videos about sports safety. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can I cut like certain things? Are you okay with that?
All that can be.
I still think the safety plan, for whatever room they're.
Well,
in.
No, I agree. I agree. I think it should be
And they don't-
generic.
They don't.
in our club,
Well, and if there's pushback on this may affect certain clubs. Again, there's more applications coming in for clubs and we're getting reduced on space right now.
Yeah.
If we get abundance of space, we can look at revisiting part of this, but. I mean, we got, me included, how many new requests for clubs so far for 2024?
Yeah.
At least half a dozen.
5,
Yeah.
at least they're still going.
So if we look at 4 to 6 every year. We need to make sure it's benefiting at least 50% of what they're doing benefits residents.
We lost 6 spaces that we used to rent.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
So-
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Feeling good?
I'm feeling great.
Sure.
It's a great start. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
The body language says otherwise.
Yeah, I'm like, are you sure?
Is there a fire alarm? No, all is good. I'm good. Last thing before you all like adjourn is I just need some of y'all to sign still a code of conduct. Because we've been virtual in and out. Which would be Lindsay and Marco. Newbies, and then Tony when he gets back on the 19th, he said.
On the 19th.
Before we were back on.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, they're coming.
This year.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
He's back, make a code of conduct.
Old school. White Sarah.
Real quick, Victoria, do you want the goal to be to have all of these contracts that are expiring December 31st to be sent in hand to you on November 19th? Or do you want to do it for December 10th? December 10th, okay. I just want to make sure. It's a deadline for me. So December 10th, the goal is all the contracts that expire December 31st will be good to go. And then I'll have it on the board agenda in December. So it's good to go in January.
With the floor for any member comments. Next meeting is November 19th. It should be planning to be a joint with the CROA board. And then December 10th will be the last meeting for 2024.
Then November 19th meeting, it's gonna be a joint meeting, and then afterwards, we have a few action items that we gotta get approved.
Okay.
You all will also be getting a video, 2 different volunteer management courses. I went to the special events committee. That's also gonna go to the recreation committee, because I just kind of want your opinion. We did go to this high school, like volunteer expo. We got over 80 kids who are really interested in
That's
volunteering
great.
for celebration, so. So whatever way possible, if that's something we're interested in, that's great. If not, we can help refer these kids to different organizations in town. So,
We're gonna have both of the meetings here.
Last touch.
as of right now, it will be here. If it changes, I'll let you all know.
If you are emailing me at my town hall email, I can't get into it. So please do victoria@luxuryeditiontravel.com if you need me.
Okay.
I'm not ignoring you, I swear.
No, I know there's an issue. We have somebody on our service committee that has this.
Yeah.
There you go. So, all right, if there's no other member comments, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mike, Marco, all those in favor? Happy election night, folks.
Oh, yeah.